If they say that, then you can assure them that they don't need to study this at all. But as you assure them, keep the conversation going. This is my suggestion. Keep the conversation going for a little bit. Ask them what is going on, what else is happening. Listen to them. And then all the difficulties will come out one by one by one. How the hands are falling off so many times one has washed, how there is COVID fatigue, how there is, how there is, quarantine blues, and how everyone's mental health is impacted, how you cannot outsource the children anymore to daycares and schools are opening, very tantalizingly for a few days until there is an outbreak, and then all the children are sent home to sit on your head. Where else will they go, to sit on your head and play drums? That is what they're going to do. And and like an appetizer, the schools open and the colleges open little bit, and then it is back to whatever. And then you're so sick of working from home, and you're so sick of what is that called, social distancing. And then and then what? And then you have this is new, I heard recently. And then there is such a thing called Zoom fatigue. Yeah. There is Zoom fatigue. I'm teaching one class at the university, Sanskrit, and then there people tell me, I'm tired of looking at the screen for 3 hours. It's a 3 hour long class. And and a lot of stuff has to be covered. And then I'm tired of looking at the screen, and I'm tired of writing, I'm tired of reading, I'm tired of just being. And this is what, so the computer and the laptop, the screen was an escape. It had pleasant connotations. Earlier, before pre-COVID, the screen was something welcome. It was a window. It was like through the looking glass, like the Alice in Wonderland. It would take us to a magical world of the wide web, world wide web. It would take us to journeys of discovery. It would take us to Netflix and various other streaming things, where you could watch your movies and shows, and where you could where you could do all kinds of where you could just distract completely. It was like a balm, it was like a nice distraction. You could tune it out. That was inner peace. The blue screen before COVID was inner peace. Yeah, yeah, because you went in it and it gave you some kind of a peace. You didn't have to come out, you know but now that very screen wants to make you scream with an M at the end. Think about it. There is a fatigue. You cannot actually look at it, even though you may have blocking glasses and blocking, what is that computer light blocking covers and all these things. Still, this is something. Even this avenue of a distraction of of stuffing has been verily removed, or at best vitiated. Because even though you may be watching something that you enjoy on this screen, it happens to be the same screen from where you're doing your work from home, of course. And then there are all these connotations. Everything is just uh, life as we know it has not only come to a standstill, but is encouraging us to find some kind of a different ways of being. And so if you engage somebody in conversation who says, I don't need this, I'm okay as I am, and I have adapted to the times, all this will come out. All these hidden difficulties will slowly come out. And that is why one needs this teaching. That is why one needs to understand how to get to a certain place of being okay with what is. And that is the message of Vedanta. Message of Vedanta is that, everything that I confront is okay. This is a very, very big statement. And that is in the background of what the Bhagavad Gita in this verse that I just recited calls as Brahmi Sthiti. Brahmi Sthiti means being like Brahman, or rather being Brahman. But one is already Brahman, yes. Recognizing that, owning that up, recognizing that, owning that up, and living that, assimilating that to the extent of living that completely, that is what is called Brahmi Sthiti. Esha Brahmi Sthiti. Partha, hey Partha, hey Arjuna, oh Arjuna. This is where I want you to go. Bhagavan Krishna says right at the outset of the Bhagavad Gita. And then it takes him another 600 odd verses to get there, at the end of the at the 18th chapter. Until he says, Nashto mohaha smritir labdha karishye vachanam tava. I will do exactly as you say, my delusion has been destroyed. This is what this delusion is. Delusion means, having a having a parallel reality which is not in tandem with what is going on, living in your personal world of your desires, which is not at all in keeping with what is going on. This is what is delusion. This is what is called moha, which has an abiding presence not only in the Bhagavad Gita but also in the Upanishads, in other Vedanta texts, and of course the primary text called the Upanishads. It has an abiding presence. This is what is called moha. To be misled. This misleading is the problem, and we'll be looking a little bit into this. We'll be looking at this, how to overcome this. And so therefore what? So this Brahmi Sthiti means overcoming this delusion. Brahmi Sthiti, of course, is not a state. A state is something that you get out of and get into. That's why everybody says I'm in a state of panic, a state of, restlessness, a state of anger, a state of denial. Those are all states. But then the observer of these states is stateless, free of all those states. And that is the one we have to look into, and whose nature is Brahman. That is what we have to look into. And this is something which is a very beautiful and a much needed discovery. A much needed discovery. And something that has to happen now. We cannot put it off, as I said, because there is no, the circumstances of our lives is, where the where the stranglehold of the coronavirus and all that it means in one's personal life, in one's community, in one's, in one's nation, etc., leaves no room for anything else other than to address whatever is going on. And so therefore, overcoming this delusion. Overcoming this delusion. What is this delusion? And if you unpack the concept of moha, as I said, it is just an overlay, an eclipsing of one's own reality over what already is. And that is why Pujya Swamiji would always, when he defined Ishvara, he would say, what is Ishvara. And I take that a little further. And what are the, what is, is. And then if you spell Ishvara in English, the first two letters of Ishvara is is. Yeah. What is Ishvara. Ishvara is Bhagavan, and for us, Bhagavan is not some guy sitting in the sky and then, dispensing this COVID. Oh, you have been bad, and I'm going to give you some, something terrible. And then even in this time of this pandemic, we find that the richest of the rich have gotten richer. How? Don't ask, So perhaps all this online ordering, that that is what it is. Amazon fellow, has become very rich. And then so and the first 3% of the population, the richest 3%, somehow, even in this time of homelessness, in this time of difficulty for 97% of the people, have gotten richer. you know this is something which is, how is this even possible? This is possible, one is tempted to say this is possible because there is a partial Ishvara. There is an Ishvara who is not fair, who is just favoring some people. Some people get away with everything, you know some people just bounce back no matter what. Some people don't get sick. Some people do, looks like they never die. Some people never get caught. And then here, I get caught even if I don't do something wrong. And I get questioned, I get pulled over. And what is this? What kind of a world is this? It's very tempting to take this theological standpoint that there is something wrong with the way the universe is set up, with the way Bhagavan, the cause of the universe, the source of the universe, the creator, so to speak, is set up. The setup is itself vitiated. Something is terribly, terribly wrong, and this has to be, this cannot be righted. Obviously, this is not in my hands to write it. And so therefore what, I'm not having to do anything. I don't want to do anything with all this, with this whole situation, because it is biased, it is unfair, and it is, um, uh, regardless of how much I protest, singularly and in a group, nothing seems to change. This is, very tempting to take this theological standpoint. And then many religions follow this theological standpoint. But it is not this theological point of view is, has got two problems. First, it is a very hopeless point of view. you know that is, following this point of view, what do you get? More headache, more anger, more fear, more alienation. Why would you want to do that to yourself? Number one. And number two, it is not in keeping with the reality. How can you say that? How can your reality be more real than the reality of another theology? If supposing you were to ask me that, I would just sort of point to a very, very, simple thing. One is, you know, we take it back to the self. Take it back to the yearning for being whole. That is widely recognized. And it is a fact, because it is not something you made up. Because you go to somewhere, you go to Mongolia, ask what do you want? I want to be whole, I want to be happy, I want to be free. You go somewhere else, go to, some other part of Europe. What do you want? I want to be happy, I want to be free, I want to be whole. Same thing. You go anywhere. It is a universal thing, and something which is universal means it is already there. And that I want is what is, that want is the singular and only want that has to be addressed. That is, you know, wanting to be looked into. That's the only want. No other want in the world, has that power. All other wants are what, what is, there is a nice word, spin-offs of this want. Every other want is a spin-off. Yeah, you have like a, you have like a, what's its name? You have like a, movie, and then the movie becomes popular, and then you have a spin-off. So all other wants are little spin-off. This want to be happy, to be whole, to be, no matter what is happening around me, to want shanti, to want peace, is the only want that needs to be addressed. And this is, this is something that has to be understood. So you go back to that. And if this, and what does the Veda say? Veda says that when the Bhagavad Gita says, Vedanta says, what does Vedanta say? Vedanta says that this want is already you. What you want, ironically, is a fulfilled desire. You are seeking a desire that is already fulfilled. And you're not seeking a desire that is unfulfilled. So, in other words, this want is not away from you. How strange is it that I'm wanting something that I already have? And many times it happens, you want something you already have, but you don't know it. You know, the typical example, the classic example is one of Upanetram. You can learn a Sanskrit word today. Upanetram means glasses. So the glasses are where? Kept on the head. The glasses are on the head, and then the person searches high and low. You can have another example also. The keys are in the pocket, the person searches high and low. So the person is already the possessor of the keys, the person is already the possessor of the glasses, the person is already having what they are seeking. This is just an everyday example. But still, for want of knowledge, this is hidden from them. One is the possessor of the glasses, but one does not know. One is the possessor of the keys, but one does not know. One is the possessor of the phone, but it is on silent. It is somewhere, right in one's bag, but one does not know. This is exactly how it is. One is the possessor of the riches of the universe in the form of this knowledge. That one is Brahman, that one is already happy, that one is already free, and one is free of seeking everything, but one still feels like a pauper. What would you tell a person sitting on a treasure chest of all kinds of gems, diamonds, gold, and crying bitterly? Oh, I want this, I want that, I'm so poor, I can't do this, my family can't do this. And you're puzzled, you're just a passerby, and you see this person sitting on the chest. And then you tell the person, come on, look, you're sitting on the chest. Oh, really? Oh, Nashto moha, my delusion has been destroyed. I have regained my senses, smritir labdha. And this is exactly what happened to Arjuna. This is exactly what is the situation for everybody. So, therefore, you know, the theological point of view that there is a guy in the sky other than you, and that this guy in the sky, is dispensing for the first 3% all the goodies. No, and has insulated them from the pandemic and and all its effects, all its broods, and that this guy, and why it is a guy, don't know, but that's how it is. That's how theology has posited. And that this guy in the sky is now, giving you all kinds of untold difficulties and untold pains and sorrows. This is this is the situation. That is, a very troubling, it's a very troubling and a dangerous theology, because it's a dangerous it's troubling because of all the things we have already seen, and it's a dangerous theological standpoint, because it makes one, you know angry and victimized, makes one permanently angry and victimized. Why? Because one feels helpless. And if that was not enough, it makes one have some kind of a savior mentality. So I have to, I need a savior other than me who will come and take me out, swing low, sweet chariot. This is what it is. Someone has to come and lift me out of these doldrums. And so this Brahmi sthiti, which the Bhagavad Gita describes as something needing to be recognized and can be achieved right here and right now in the form of this understanding, that frees one from delusion, becomes something very remote, and then, and is only, accessible after death, after the fall of this pata, the fall of this body. This is difficult. This is a very difficult situation, because if the point of life is afterlife, what am I doing here? 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years. What am I doing here? What for is this life? If the point of life is afterlife, then what am I doing here? This is not some kind of a bus stop, the whole of life. Like Forrest Gump sitting in the bus stop. This is not some kind of a, bus stop watching the world go by. I am a participant. I am an agent. I have hands and legs. I have a free will. I can pursue things in the universe. I have desires. More than anything, I have desires. And those desires, are in the form of ambitions, are in the form of things I want to, gain in this life. And not only do I have desires, I seem to have the means to fulfilling them. And then I'm supposed to sit helplessly without, helping myself. That is why this is a very, dangerous theological point of view, and something that is also not in keeping with just sheer logic, and not in keeping with the human pursuit, which we have seen is happiness, which we have seen, which is that same happiness is talked about as inner peace in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Upanishads. Same happiness. That is what is Shanti. You know, Shanti is happiness, because without happiness you cannot have Shanti. So this is a very difficult standpoint, and because it is not in keeping with the yearning. It is completely disrespecting the yearning, it is dissing the yearning that is universal, that I feel. And so therefore we have to give a chance to what the Veda and reveals. To what the reality that the Veda reveals is in keeping with the human pursuit, and also in keeping with my own experience, because this experience is important, very, very important. And the whole Vedanta Shastra, the philosophy, is based on a singular experience. What is that experience? I am. And that's why I keep asking the question, are you here? And what can you say other than yes? I'm here. Yes. You cannot say no, because if you say no, you advertise your presence, perhaps even more strongly than when you say yes. you know and so, what, are you here? Yes, yes, yes. And that means what? That you are self existent, and your self, your existence is evident to you. It is evident to you. In fact, everything is evident to you. Everything is evident to you. The sun, the sky, the air that you breathe, your own mental state, your emotional states, what the things that are going on within your body, evident to you. All the things, the trees, the sky, the ocean, evident to you. Everything is evident to you. And who are you evident to? You are evident to yourself. You are self evident. And so, why are we talking about this self evident? Because you experience yourself all the time. You experience yourself, and this experience, based on this experience of yourself all the time, in all what the Upanishad would call the three states of experience: sleeping, waking, dreaming. This is where the whole thing. This is where the whole thing is. This is how the whole thing unfolds. Sleeping, dreaming, waking. You are there. You are the star of the universe. And there is only one you, and many names, many forms, many bodies, one I, singular. And that I is revealed to be Ishvara. Really. This is something, that is not the scope of this topic, but this is something that needs to be studied, needs to be discovered fully. But I'll just mention it for now so you know what is there to look forward to. Perhaps we can address it a little more in the next talk. But this is where, this is where we have to see that the uh, the reality that Vedanta reveals, offers, is in keeping with the human want, number one, and is in keeping with the human experience, number two. And how is it in keeping with the human experience? Because what is revealed is not outside of you. There cannot be an Ishvara outside of you, and then a philosophy of Advaita positing that you are the whole. How can I be the whole when there is some Ishvara sitting on my, neck? How can I be whole? You know, this is not possible. So therefore, Advaita, non-duality, means that all that is there is one presence, a singular, non-dual, indivisible presence known as I, in the form of this awareness to whom everything becomes evident. So if you parse this presence, if you take away all the things that come and go, like the body comes and goes, we know that, and then the mind comes and goes, we know that even better. Only thing you can say about the mind is never mind. That's all you can say. Mind comes and goes, body comes and goes. Emotions come and go, feelings come and go. So you take away everything that comes and goes. What is left is I am, I am, I am, aham, 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 sakshaditi, sakshi rupena bhasate, the witness of everything. The witness of all things that come and go, does not come, does not go, simply is. Is. And then this isness is Ishvara. This isness ultimately is revealed to be that the cause of the universe. That is what the whole thing is. And from Ishvara's side also, you take off a few things. You take off the epithet cause of the universe, you take off, then what is revealed is that invariable presence. That invariable presence is upon which the whole Shastra is based, is you. And then one more thing. The second thing is very important for this cultivation of inner peace, because when you sleep, what happens? In the sleep state, there is no pain, no affliction. You even don't know what COVID is. You don't, you're not washing hands in sleep. You're not wearing a mask in sleep. You're not trying to socially distance in sleep. Nothing. It's all gone. In sleep, there is oneness. In sleep, there is happiness. That's why nobody wants to wake up. Everybody wants to keep on sleeping, you know, and very difficult to wake up. Why? Because that is what in sleep you are experiencing Brahmi Sthiti in a way. Yes. In sleep, there is non duality. In sleep, there is Advaita. And this sleep, only thing is you are not there to enjoy it. That's why it has to be pursued in the waking state alone. Too bad, because if it's something naturally I experience, why should why should I study this? This is why. And that sleep state is not just in the sleep state that you are free of problems and pain and sorrow. Even in the waking state, sometimes, just sometimes, you find yourself in a very, commodious place. Somebody, does something you absolutely hate. And then what do you say? It's okay. Maaf kar diya. I have just forgiven you. It's okay. Doesn't matter. You're just in a very accommodative place. You're in a place of compassion. You're in a place of understanding. You give the benefit of doubt to the other one, whoever you are confronted by. And that is when you are happy. That is when you are peaceful. That is when you are, at, at home with yourself. That is what it is. And so these kinds of experiences, the experience of sleep and the experience of happiness without any desire needing to be fulfilled, whet the appetite for this understanding. And this understanding is in keeping with the human pursuit and is in keeping with the human experience. That's why, it is not a theology. A theology is always a point of view, even though we, like it is become common, common practice to count Vedanta in one of these, what is that, darshanas, these, six ways of looking at the world, and Vedanta is one of them. Vedanta is not one of them. In fact, Gaudapadacharya, the grand guru of Adi Shankara, makes this very clear in the last, in the last, quarter of his commentary to the Mandukya Upanishad. It is called Alata Shanti. It is, the word Shanti comes there very interestingly. He says, I'm just summarizing, hundreds of verses. So, very simply put, he says, there will be many, many points of view. There are, in fact, many points of view. And if you are a student of Vedanta, you can enjoy all of them. A point of view is enjoyable as long as you are in touch with the view. Then the point of view is enjoyable. No matter how contentious it is, you can enjoy it because you know the view. The view is that you are already peaceful, that you are limitless, you are free, you are whole. That is the view. And as long as you are in touch with that view, every point of view can be accommodated because you know you transcend all of them. Let them all be there. Some of them will fight with one another and self destruct. Some of them, like non biodegradable styrofoam cups and bowls, will continue forever and, and be there in the landfill of theology. Let them be there. Let them be there. And what are you? You are like a lotus that grows in the swamp of all these points of view because you are the view. You just shake off everything. Shake off everything. Nothing touches you, and that is what is, that is what is Brahmi Sthiti, where nothing afflicts, nothing, touches. This is the vision of Vedanta. And to get there, you know the division in the vision has to be, reconciled. One has to settle accounts with oneself. This is what I would say. And how does one do that? And this is something I alluded to in the beginning of the talk. And that is what we talk about, a personal, the overlay of the personal vision over what is already there is the problem. That is the vision, that is the division in the vision. That is what is robbing one of one's inner peace. Permit me to illustrate. And you see in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, this is illustrated very well. A distraught Arjuna with the Gandiva, the bow, slipping from his hand in the midst of the first recorded panic attack in the history of the universe. And I keep saying all the time, if there were paper bags already invented, there would be no Bhagavad Gita, for which we are thankful that the paper bag came later. Why? Because, Lord Krishna would have just handed him a paper bag. Just breathe into it, little carbon dioxide, coming into the brain will get rid of this panic. That's what they say, breathe into a paper bag if you are hyperventilating. But thank God there were no paper bags, because of which we have the whole Bhagavad Gita instead. Thank God. So here is a distraught Arjuna. And if you look at Arjuna, he was not distraught just a few minutes ago when he forgot who Bhagavan Krishna is and orders him to the midst of the battlefield and says, take my chariot. Hey, James, James means what? He didn't call him James, he called his, this is a Sanskrit version of it. Hey, Achyuta. Achyuta was his name, another name for Lord Krishna. Hey Achyuta, hey James, chauffeur, take my chariot in between the two armies so that I, the commander in chief, can inspect these armies and see who is superior. And not only that, can show off my valor, my strength, my machismo. I can show off and say, in yavadetan niriksheham yodhukaman avasthitan kairmaya saha yodhavyam. Who dares to fight with me. I can see, I can give them, I can just care. I just have to twirl my mustache, oh Krishna, and then the half the battlefield will run away, and I just have to I don't even have to pat my biceps. I just have to point to them. I just have to say, oh, was that a mosquito? And then other half of the army will run away. This is my valor. He was showing off. He was blowing his conch and his beating his kettle drum, and the war had already begun, in fact, with the beating of the kettle drum and the blowing of various conch shells. That is how the signal for the war. Everybody was bloodthirsty, and the horses were raring to go. The elephants were acting as though they were drunk, and it was mayhem in the battlefield. And here you have Arjuna filled with pride, not confidence, pride. Pride of what? The pride that has drummed up with this parallel reality, this moha, this deluded pride. And then what? Krishna says, yes, yes, I, sir, and takes him to the middle of the army. But Krishna always brings in a few tricks. Krishna is not without tricks, and takes him to the middle of the army. All right, but inches the chariot further to where all the elders are standing. The teachers, the grandfather, the uncles, everybody in whose lap Arjuna had played, who Arjuna respects immensely, but who are unfortunately deluded. All these elders who are supposed to show the way of righteousness, they are standing on the wrong side, deluded. You know, the king Dhritarashtra was blind from birth, and that is a metaphor for how everybody who is standing is blinded by delusion, blinded by adharma, wrong thinking, wrong ways of being. And Arjuna, confronting this pain, this sorrow, this fear, he has a dharma sankata, a conflict. And what is this conflict? Oh, and this conflict is variously talked about by the scholars of the Bhagavad Gita. Oh, his duty was to fight, but then he is fighting, and this other duty was to respect the teachers, and he doesn't know what to do. Rubbish. That is not what the conflict was. The conflict was that he was in the unenviable position of having to confront all the people that he loved and respected, and having to teach them what dharma is, and it could be only done through destruction and war, and that was an inevitable fact. That was his pain. That was his sorrow. That was the conflict, not because of some duty or whatever. That is just a very shallow reading of the Bhagavad Gita. That is what the conflict was. The conflict was, in other words, a painted picture of these people that he had in his heart, that he was not willing to let go. A painted reality, a personal reality, that these are elders, that these are my elders, that I have loved them, that I have respected them, that, this war is not needed. One's own reality. That I don't want to fight this war, I'd rather give up my arms and go to Rishikesh and become a sannyasi. He says as much. He says, I'd rather live a life of alms and begging. And in fact, he had already ordered one orange dhoti from Amazon.com, and he was waiting for it to come. Yeah. And he was just sitting there, and he was just ready to give up everything. And then he was ready to give up everything. Why? Because his reality of how he would like things to be did not match the fact that they were adharmic, the fact that they had tyrannized not only the Pandavas, Arjuna and his brothers, but the whole kingdom. The fact that they were bad rulers, the fact that they had usurped his kingdom, and the fact that he and he alone was in an unenviable position of leadership, where he had to confront them, where he had to point out their errors. And in the very fact of pointing out errors was not some kind of a mediation meeting that he would have happily attended. In fact, they had many mediation meetings. Krishna himself went as a mediator. But, you know, Duryodhana said, I'm not going to give even a little space occupied by a pin, a point of a needle to these people. So there was no mediation possible. If the Lord cannot, mediate, who can mediate? There was no mediation possible. So we have in the Bhagavad Gita, we have this brilliant analysis of two realities. The reality as we watch it, and from a distance of 5,000 years minimum, and from a distance of a completely different yoga, we can watch this. We can see that. We can see that these people are idiots. We can see that these people have to be taught a lesson. We can see that war is inevitable, and it is a war that has to be fought. That's why it is called a righteous war, or a dharma, dharma kshetra. This is what has to be this war has to be fought, because there's no other way. Sometime, and that's why the coronavirus is there. There is no other way. Same thing. There is no other way of learning certain things, of coming to a certain understanding. And this is what the Bhagavad Gita reveals in the fourth chapter. Lord Krishna says, you know sambhavami yuge yuge, I incarnate myself in every yuga. In every yuga I incarnate myself. Why? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam, in order to protect those who have been following dharma, and in order to right the situation, and vinashaya cha dushkritam, people who are coming in the way and following adharma, in order to destroy them. But then what about the 3%? Those are not getting destroyed. My answer to you is wait. We are only looking at 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, a whole human lifetime. Bhagavan doesn't work that way. Wait. There is karma, there is justice. It just doesn't happen in your time. It happens in Bhagavan's time. Just wait and see what all is happening. Wait and see what happens. And meanwhile, we do our best to get to this place of withdrawing. What is that? This parallel reality. And Arjuna has to do that. Arjuna is in the situation of needing a, what should I say, needing a quick Vedanta lesson, which of course turns out to be not very quick at all. Needing a Vedanta lesson in order to even do what is needing to be done in one's daily life. This is what one needs. And so what is this overlay? If you unpack the overlay, what is there? And this is also revealed by the Bhagavad Gita, raga, dvesha. It's like knitting a sweater. Knit, pearl, 2 stitches, only possible, that's all. Various permutations and combinations. So raga, dvesha. You have knitted a reality that is obfuscating Ishvara sitting in the heart, that is obfuscating this peace which belongs to you, which is indeed you, that's obfuscating this happiness. So knit, pearl, knit, pearl, knit, pearl, knit, pearl, raga, dvesha, raga, dvesha, raga, dvesha. You can have it in various combinations. Sarvesham buddhau, in every buddhi, raga, dveshau, vyavasthitau. In every buddhi, raga and dvesha are kept. This is a fact. Oh, then why are you telling me this is a problem? Well, read the fine print. Bhagavan Krishna would say the next line, Tayor vasham na agachet. Oh Arjuna, do not come under their spell. Tau hi asya paripanthinau. These are what is inimical to you. These are inimical to you. Don't come under their spell. In other words, manage the raga and the dvesha. Don't let them manage you. Easier said than done, right? Yeah. But that is where we have to go next. That is where we have to move further. So, managing the raga, managing the dvesha, managing this. You are in the driver's position, and you have to allow that these raga and dvesha to be managed. They are, they cannot be, they are the co-passengers. It's like you're transporting a bunch of unruly passengers from one place to another, and you cannot let them take over the steering wheel, says the Kathopanishad. You have to manage them. You have to be holding the reins of the chariot, the reins of the horses have to be in your hand squarely. And that is when that connection, between you and Bhagavan is revealed. That is where that inner, that inner mastery comes from managing these, recalcitrant and difficult to overcome raga and dvesha. And I will leave you. More we will see in the next session will be much more. What's the word for it? We will have some hands-on tips and everything. Even though it's a different topic, like I said, don't worry. It's all connected. It is very, very much connected. And so we will have more of, practical tips offering. So this was more of a broad overview of where we need to go, what is the problem at hand, and how we can overcome this. So managing the raga dvesha is, I leave you with this, is not hard, especially in the age of COVID, because whatever you want, you cannot get anyway. You want to go to a restaurant at your own peril. Go, 50% capacity. Okay, go sit. If you dare to go sit and eat there. And then you want to go to a movie. Same old, same old. And half the things, in fact, Bhagavan has done as a favor and has already managed all the ragadveshas. Whatever you want, you cannot have, and whatever you don't want, namely time with yourself, you are having double, quantities of. This is what has to be, this is what has to be understood, and here is the key to managing raga dveshas. And I leave you with this one practical tip: is what is the deferred gratification. This is what one has to do, and this is what all the psychologists also say. The works for parenting, don't say no, say not yet. If you say no, they will rebel. If you say not yet, they will wait and be out of your hair. A few times they may say now, 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 and like baby Bhagavan Krishna. Krishna came with the, came to his mom. Dehi chashakam, give me a bowl, you know. And kimartham, the mother said, Mother Yashoda said, why do you need a bowl, a cup, you know, you know, patum payaha, in order to drink milk. And the mother says, no milk now. Milk only comes at night. And so when it is night, you can have milk. And then 2 seconds later, baby Lord Krishna, says, Dehi chashakam, again, give me the cup. And the mother says, didn't I tell you? Milk only is there at night and you're asking for the cup again. And she turns around, she was busy doing something. She turns around and sees baby Lord Krishna tightly with his eyes closed. And he says, Mother, look, it is night. there is, give me milk. Now it is night. I have closed my eyes. So, you see, from this you know, we learn deferred gratification. And so what works for what works for Lord Krishna also works for your own, for baby Lord Krishna, works for the inner babies, the inner child, the inner children, which are in the form of these jumping around ragadveshas. Deferred gratification. So you allow the raga dveshas, you change the channel, you go somewhere, you go do something, you allow them to scream, and then you say, okay, not now, little later, little later. And this way, this way the raga dveshas like curtains part to give you the view of the sun-like Lord that is your own nature, free of want, free of pain, free of sorrow, and inherently peaceful. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. Yeah, you can ask questions. Thank you.
Namaste, everyone. Thank you, Swamini ji, for this
Om
beautiful
Om.
class today. Um, we, we will have question and answer for the next 8 or so minutes. So if you have a question, you can let me know in the chat, or you can press the raise hand on the Zoom function. I can unmute you. Both are options. And just an announcement that October 15th will be our next class. October 15th. Um, and the Zoom link should stay the same, but be on the lookout for that. And the topic on October 15th will be Vedanta and freedom from alienation with Swaminiji again.
Is it 15th or
Sorry,
25th?
25th. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just got
Yeah.
the, yeah, October
Yeah,
25th.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
apologies.
yeah. No problem.
A lot of people sending gratitude, Swaminiji.
Very nice to be with all of you too. Thank you. Each time we teach, it's a blessing because we cannot teach without seeing the meaning of what is there to study, to teach.
Mm.
So it's a blessing. It's all a blessing.
So, Swaminiji,
If I
since no
had
questions
known
have
there
come
were no
yet,
questions, I would have gone a little longer.
perhaps I can ask a question about
Yeah, go ahead.
Swamiji asked at the end mentioned that at times we have these inner children
Yes,
wanting have these raga
yes,
and dvesha,
yes.
these likes and dislikes. And so, does Swamiji have maybe a practice or a auto suggestion that we can give to quiet the inner children?
They have to be parented. Yes, they have to be parented, and that is very, very important. Learn how to parent the inner child. And that I'm hoping will be the topic of a longer talk next time. And so, parenting the inner child means first getting comfortable to be in the skin of the witness.
Mm.
Without being comfortable in the skin of the witness, the sakshi, I have to become familiar with and love myself as the witness. And without doing that, without being the witness, what else will one be other than witless? Witness, and if you're not a witness, you are witless. This is what one has to understand. Ah, this is witless means completely helpless. So there is, since one is intimately tied or connected to the body, the mind, the senses, there is a kind of an identification. There is a kind of an identification which is based on delusion. The body is as good as me. This is one's own parallel reality. This is not the truth. You know, body is. I'm not just this body. I'm not just this mind. I'm not just the senses. So therefore, I have to understand that, and when I am in the place of being the witness, something wonderful happens, because then I can witness my restlessness, then I can witness the fear, then I can witness the terror, witness the discomfort, and then I am in the place of the adult. And the
Mm.
same thing that you do to your child or any child, you comfort a child by being in the place of the witness. You don't identify with the child's pain. You say everything is going to be okay. You are okay. You are fine. Yes, disappointments are part of life. Everything is okay. And same thing you have to do to the inner children in the form of raga, dvesha, anger, kopa, moha, delusion, etc. Those are the inner children. You cannot distance yourself from them. You cannot socially distance yourself from your inner children. You have to love them up. You have to let them integrate into the adult, and that, my friends, is a lifelong journey. So this is just a small little, a little key to getting to that. Yeah, yes. Be become friends with the witness first. Identify with the witness. That's what it is. I think Shiv has a question. Yes,
Yes,
Shiv.
I can
Hari Om, Swamini ji.
Oh,
I was curious. There was one sort of thing I want to get clarification on that you kind of breezed over a little bit at the very beginning of your talk. Was, you know in our today's age, like you said, like we see a lot of things in the media of like other people being successful, at least from the offset, or like, the richer get richer, or like, corruption, there's more corruption around, or like a seeming feeling of corruption, of something like that, where, people are getting
yeah,
away with things. And I was
yeah.
wondering if you can just maybe go over that again, because to sort of clarify that notion of like that feeling of like, nothing's necessarily going right.
Yeah, and and to a certain extent, it's not the feeling. It is a reality. You see that. You see, it is an apparent reality. That's what we have to see. It's not just a feeling. It has a certain truth. I mean, you cannot say that, the fact that Bezos made a lot of money during the pandemic. It's not a feeling. It's not your feeling. It's not my feeling. It's a fact. It's an empirical fact. It's not an ultimate fact. It's an empirical fact. It has to be confronted. But it is, this is where the redemption is. It's not, it is what it is right now. Right now, I'm helpless. Right now, I don't have a place to, I don't have any other way of looking at it. Right now, the options are closed. Right now, the adharma seems to be on the rise. So I do what I can. As I said, I'm an agent. I have free will. One has free will. Organize, protest rightfully, vote, do whatever it is that you need to do, to, whatever, all the things that are in your hand, use them. And people have been. We have been having such a renaissance of so many movements. We have all kinds of things. We have all kinds of things happening in the world, which are very beautiful to see, which are very, hopeful. And people are not even minding their own lives. They are just, doing everything that is needed. Do everything that is needed. That too is part of this. You are co-creating this. You're co-creating the future. That is what it is. You're co-creating the universe as is. And there are many realities which are there at the same time. And and not all, and anything can be there. Like, for example, physicists have been studying about what happens when you fall into a black hole. Very interesting. So when you fall into a black hole, it all depends on where you are, who is looking, and where their perspective is. This is what the physicists have concluded. So if you are outside, quote unquote, the event horizon, if you are quote unquote outside and looking at the person falling, you see them being zapped by all the radiation at the event horizon, which is the entrance to the black hole. You see them, zapped to the crisp. But supposing you have already gone down the black hole, and then you're looking at them coming in, they're coming in intact. You see, this is what the whole thing is. That is what the whole thing idea is. So, which is true? I mean, we will not know in terms of this particular example. We will not know, but in terms of, what this teaches us, that there are that it is not some kind of a deterministic future that we are looking at. And all the changes have happened as a result of agency. And the in fact, Bhagavan is manifest in the form of your karma, karmendriyas, your organs of action. And in fact, your buddhi, your intellect. And this is all a manifestation of Bhagavan. So if that is Bhagavan, what you're confronting is Bhagavan, your ability to change is also Bhagavan. You do what you can. You also pray, because prayer is also a form of doing. In fact, we have a verse in Sanskrit: Udyamam sahasam dhairyam buddhi shakti parakramah shadete yatra vartante tatra devah sahayakrit. Udyamam, hard work; sahasam, enthusiasm; dhairyam, courage; buddhihi, intellect, the use of mental resources; shaktihi means the power, and the power to transformative creative power, creativity. And then finally parakramam, the ability to take a project to its end. When these six things are there, there Bhagavan lends a helping hand. That is what we say. Anything else?
That's all, Swamini ji.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have enjoyed all of you, and I hope to see you again in a couple of weeks. Take care. Be well. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.